Ken, I'm so excited about this week's show
Oh, lay it on me.
because we are going to discuss one of my favorite genres of music, heavy metal.
Oh, yeah.
And Ken, I grew up a heavy metal kid, okay? The reason I love music so much is because of heavy metal. I grew up listening to Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, AC/DC, and today's band, Black Sabbath.
Oh, yeah. Ha, 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 ha.
Really? It's
I
not
did that.
Halloween, man. Come on.
No, every day's Halloween. But
Okay, that's fair enough. So, this album that we're talking about, Black Sabbath's debut, was released in 1970. So, this is the 50-year anniversary of this album.
happy birthday, Black Sabbath.
And this album, by all measures, is widely considered the first heavy metal album.
True.
Black Sabbath created a genre of music with this album. That's historical.
That's huge, my brother.
And so I always go back to this thought of what makes a heavy metal song? What makes a song heavy metal? Is it the distorted guitar? Is it the bass? No, what makes something heavy metal is the atmosphere combined with the music, combined with this sense of evil that is throughout the entire album.
And you definitely have it here on this album. And it makes sense, considering since these four British lads,
Look at where they came from, my friend.
Which is
Birmingham, not Alabama, although just as bleak, but worse.
I have friends in Birmingham. He did
Yes,
not
we
mean
do.
that.
And that's why we tease.
I love
But
Birmingham, Alabama.
Birmingham, yeah. Now, I hope to visit Birmingham, England one day. After looking at it, I'm like, I don't think I want to
Well, it's an old steel town.
Yeah.
And when you're in a town like that, whether it's in Pennsylvania or in England,
It's all the same.
you're born there, you're raised there, you work there,
and
and
you
then you
die
die
there.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so that's what Sabbath is dealing with. These kids who probably have no future, who don't have any way out of that cycle.
Yeah. And funny you say that because you hear it in this album. More so the fact that you hear four kids who are looking for a future. So as evil as this sounds, and maybe it's just me, because I get mistaken for being a mean-looking person. Not so much evil, but for being a mean man.
Scary.
Yes, thank you. I see the teddy bear lining. I hear the
I can't
lining
wait till
of
we
the
dive
teddy
into
bear.
this to hear
So,
that. But now, when I first heard this album, the entire album, it was about 25 years ago. I picked up the CD, okay? And unbeknownst to me, all right, I did not know that Evil Woman was on the US release, whereas Wicked World was on the UK release. However, even though, or vice versa, whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever,
still.
vice
yeah.
versa. However, I had heard all of these songs, but out of order, because my first Black Sabbath album that I owned was "We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll,"
Yep.
which is like their greatest,
Greatest
hits,
hits,
album.
baby.
Okay, with the original lineup, and the songs are all out of order. So "Wicked World" is stuck on like side 2, or side 3, whatever it is. "NIB" is the very last song on the entire thing.
Yeah.
The Wizard, Warning, and Black Sabbath, the title track, they're on side 1.
Yeah.
And so everything is off. Because when I hear this album as a cohesive whole, I'm thinking, oh, now I get it. Because besides NIB and The Wizard, none of those other songs were great songs to me. It wasn't until I heard the album from track 1 all the way until the end where I thought, oh, now I get it.
Yeah, you're able to follow the journey. No, you're right, because on the greatest hits, yeah, someone else not with the band, some producer decided to put them together in that order for whatever reason.
Money.
Yeah, bingo. There you go. And when you hear this, it does flow. And it makes sense also because we know, again, these four lads, they listened to classical composers. That's how classical composers write.
Right.
So it makes sense. They have movements and it all ties into a theme.
No, I agree with you 100%. Now, I have a confession to make. when I first saw the album cover, very bleak,
Yeah.
very gloomy. It looks like there's this like half dead ghost on the cover, and it's a woman. And for years, probably until I was like 40, I thought that was Ozzy Osbourne on the cover.
Yeah, you're not the only one, my friend.
I did. I was like, oh, Ozzy's looking rough at 20 years old. But it wasn't Ozzy, okay? It was a model actually on the cover that was part of that photograph.
I hope they paid her to look rough.
Yeah, no, it was evil, okay. But let's jump into the album and let's go right to the title track, okay? Black Sabbath. My God, that rain. When you first hear the rain coming,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
When you first hear that rain, even that rain is influential, because when you listen to Slayer's Rain and Blood, what do? They start with that thunderstorm.
Give her that shout out.
That's it. That's exactly what they were doing. They were giving that shout out to this song.
Love it.
And so when the rain kind of subsides, then the band comes in full blast. And I want you to describe the devil's chord here and explain why right off the bat, 10 seconds into Black Sabbath's recording career, they automatically are the most evil band on the planet.
So, again, as I said, these four lads listened to classical composers and classical music. Back in the day, going back to Italy, 1500s, yada yada, way back, there's an interval called the tritone, and that's the devil's interval is what it's called. On a violin, you've heard it before, and it creates a sound of tension. Now, to geek out, it's where you take a perfect fifth and a perfect fourth, and you augment or diminish, and they're not perfect. So that right there and 10 cents will get you nothing in Starbucks. But it creates a sound, and you're like, okay, the tritone, devil's interval, what? Something to relate it to? Think the beginning of YYZ by Rush.
Okay.
That is the devil's interval right there.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that either, because that's such a bright and peppy song.
Yeah, and I'm here for you. And like I said, and it's like anything else. It's a tool. It's how you use it. And they used it. They milked it with this one.
And throughout this whole album, we're going to talk about the individual members. We're going to talk about Tony Iommi's guitar playing. We're going to talk about Geezer Butler as a bassist and lyricist. We're going to talk about Bill Ward as a drummer. Oh my goodness. But for me, this song lives and dies with Ozzy singing. Because from the first moment he opens up his lips, you know that's Ozzy Osbourne. You might not have met him yet back in 1970, but you know that's Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? So last week, right, we listened to song number 1.
Okay.
And one of the first things we said, first song on the album, because, vinyl, you lay it down, you put that needle on the record, it has to come out swinging.
Right.
This one definitely comes out swinging.
But in a different way.
In a different way. You're right. And, we've talked about this with the end of the 60s, 69, so the flower power, peace, love, happiness.
The hippies.
Imagine going
Woodstock.
back in time, yeah. Dropping the needle on this album, and this is what you hear. Oh my God!
You know what I hear in this song? No hope. There is no hope for Ozzy Osbourne in this song.
Yeah,
he is defeated, and he's just waiting for Satan to take him away.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, and it's cool. I would, if I could go back in time, I would like to go back when this album came out, February 1970.
Just to see people's reactions.
Yeah.
Because, and here's the thing, it's not the hardest song on the album, right?
Far from.
It doesn't have the big guitar riffs. And
no
like that, compared to the rest of the...
Exactly.
It's just this whole sense of foreboding, this whole sense of gloom. And there's a lot of arguments over like what constitutes the heavy metal sound, right? The Beatles argue that Helter Skelter is the first heavy metal song. There's Iron Butterfly in Agata Davida. There's Blue Cheer with Summertime Blues. The Who claimed that their sound was heavy metal. When you hear this song, Black Sabbath, there is no doubt who created heavy metal.
You are correct about that.
Okay. And for me, this might be the first song I can think of from like a major release that I know of where they just say straight up Satan. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, I know the Stones had the album, Her Satanic Majesty's Request. In Sympathy for the Devil, they had mentioned Lucifer, which is also, he's also hanging out in this album too. But I just never heard a band just say Satan before. Now it's all, any heavy metal band can drop Satan. You're not even going to bat an eye.
You're correct.
But in 1970, when everybody's like, come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together. And they're like, you know, oh no, God, please help me. And Ozzy's just crying out in pain.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, Satan just attacked this man and took him away.
And that had to have been heavy back then. So us, you know, fast forward, growing up in the 80s, we hear, you're right, we hear you drop it all the time in metal. And going back and listening to this now, with, you know, from when we grew up, when Sabbath was already established as Sabbath,
Yep.
you can hear, all right, here are these four kids looking for their way out, and that this right here is that defining point of, hey, we've grown up doing this, and this is what we've gravitated to. Which we're at the crossroads. Which way are we going to go?
Even their look, they're all dressed in black. Iommi has the upside down cross, or
Yeah.
I think it was Iommi or Geezer.
Yeah.
I think it was Iommi, right?
I want to say it was Iommi.
Yeah. And people just had to have been losing their minds. And Ozzy, you know, he's stoned out of his gourd. Okay. And he's crying on this song, you know, and I don't see how anyone could have heard this and said, what did I get myself into? Where are my songs about love and peace? And now the Stones had some dirt to them, you know, and there were other bands that had a little bit of dirt under their fingernails. Don't get me wrong. But none of them sounded like this.
Yeah. These guys knew they were dirt. That there was, they're like, we're not polishing up. We're just gonna keep this raw gangster.
You know, it's funny because the first band name that these guys had was called Earth.
Yeah.
Very hippie-ish, very
Yes.
Mother Nature.
Yes.
And they're like, we want to be evil. We're going to call ourselves Black Sabbath. So I'm really, for this song, it's never been like one of my favorite Sabbath songs.
Yeah.
But you can't have Black Sabbath without this song.
Yeah. It's like, I'm glad they did this song.
Right. It's just the only way to look. Now, a song I'm really happy that they created,
Bring
song
it.
number 2.
Bring it.
You know, because I know, Ken, I know how you feel about this song. I know how I feel about this. The Wizard.
Yes. My second favorite Black Sabbath song of all time.
Behind.
War Pigs.
Okay, and I respect that. I respect that because War Pigs is a hell of a song.
Man, I remember. So back then, high school, sold her soul for rock and roll. The first time I heard this song, oh my Lord, it slapped me. It was as though someone walked up. It's like someone told my mama to come slap me upside the head because I was floored. The groove that they laid down.
Yeah. Now, as a kid growing up on classic rock radio or heavy metal radio, I'm listening to War Pigs, Iron Man,
Yeah.
Paranoid. Those are the songs that they kind of punched out
Yep, that was the diet.
in and out. Listening to The Wizard, and all I could ask myself, why is there a harmonica on this song, on a Black Sabbath song? Like, could you imagine Iron Man or War Pigs with the harmonica?
Yeah. See, as I got tongue-tied with my excitement, that's one of the things that grabbed me about this song, one of the reasons I gravitated to it, because again, the groove, this is Black Sabbath. How are they going to throw a groove like this? This is something a type of groove I would have heard at my house on Saturday when we're doing chores and we're spinning 45s.
Right.
Yeah. Now, we weren't spinning no Black Sabbath, I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
But that groove.
It's the blues, man.
Yeah,
It's that-
straight up.
It's the blues, and it makes sense because heavy metal, with that deal with the devil, is an offshoot of the blues.
Yeah, boom. And at this point in time, so they're in the late 60s, late 60s, everyone out of England, all the bands, name them from that period of time, all into the blues.
Cream,
And
Blues Breakers.
and since we're talking about these guys, all these British bands, and you had the blues invasion when the artists from here.
Yep.
And since we are from the heavy metal capital of the world, back then, all those British bands worshiped Robert Johnson. The story of Robert Johnson, blues man, went away, sold his soul to the devil at the crossroads so he'd be an awesome blues musician. Yeah, he did. He was also probably like the first member of the 27 Club. Now,
That's right.
the tangent I'm going on with all that, being that we live and we're from the heavy metal capital of the world, back in the day, all these British bands, they used to play here in San Antonio to make the Mecca, because Robert Johnson recorded his entire catalog here. And
That's
they,
right.
They wanted to go see.
He stayed at the Menger?
Oh, yeah.
Is that right?
No, not the Gunther.
The Gunther.
The Gunther.
Okay.
And so they wanted to go see the room where the man who sold his soul to the devil,
Recorded these tracks.
that inspired all of them to lay down these sweet blues grooves.
Now we mentioned Ozzy in the first song, right? Screaming out for help. Okay.
Yeah.
And this one, he is jamming. He's having a good time.
Yes, this is a band right there.
Right. And what really struck me is that Ozzy is the one playing the harmonica. And it's almost like him and Bill Ward are having an instrument battle. Ozzy and his harmonica and Bill Ward's drumming just going off at the same time.
And it works.
Perfectly.
What I would love to see, what I would love to see in this world, I would love to see this rhythm section get together with the horn section of the JBs.
Which are?
Maceo, Pee Wee, and Fred. That's the horn section for James Brown's band.
Oh my goodness. And so now we're going off on a tangent here, but this is okay. So you want to see Geezer Butler, the bassist, and Bill Ward, the drummer.
And you know what? Bring Tony. Let's just let's
just bring all of them.
Bring them.
And if Ozzy wants to appear on stage and throw in a harmonica solo every once in a while, he can.
Oh yeah, he can.
Yeah. And I'm feeling you here because we don't expect Sabbath to have this, I guess soulful sound or this funky sound.
Be able to throw some sweet grooves like that, yeah, to where these guys in a completely different musical spectrum
From the other side of the world.
Yeah, because they hang out. They are with Soul Brother number one. And these two, they would gel. If you could lock them in a room, just one song, it would groove. It would be heavy, but it would groove.
No, I'm really excited about that. It's like you want to take a time machine and go back and try and get these guys in a meeting of the minds.
If anyone out there has that type of power in this world, please
let us know about your time machine. We're going back to 1970. Anyway, now I can't mention this song without mentioning, and I read this on Wikipedia, that The Wizard was written about Gandalf from The Lord of the Rings.
See, now I love it more.
So
now I love it more.
So anytime The Lord of the Rings are mentioned in a song, I'm going to let you know. Okay? Or anytime The Lord of the Rings influences a song, I'm going to bring it up.
I think Tolkien was possessed to write those books, or was directed by God to write those books, just so awesome British bands could write some great songs about.
That's right. And we're gonna talk about one of those bands next week. So, but you know what? The Wizard, always one of my favorite songs. And in 2001, Black Sabbath had reunited to play the Ozfest tour.
I remember that. Yeah.
So that summer, I got to see the original Black Sabbath on stage, and I didn't know they played the Wizard live, man. And so when that harmonica blasted through and they played the Wizard, I lost it. I was like, it was one of those almost out of body experiences.
Oh yeah.
And I've had that a few times at different concerts where you can't believe they're playing a certain song and it just kind of transports you into this, like, I want to say another realm, but it does, like a wizard.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and they played the Wizard, and I could have died a happy man on that day, man. So I had to get that out there. But let's move on to track 3 on side 1. and that's Behind the Wall of Sleep. Now, this song is the one song from the original album that they did not put on We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll. And listening to it, I'm like, why didn't they put this song on there?
Yeah.
Because it starts off, it has this, that opening guitar and the section playing, it just has like a Cream feel. Like the band Cream. Like they're doing their big intro, their pompous intro.
Yeah, and that makes sense because think about it, Cream, you're looking at 4-6 years earlier before these guys when they were still jamming in a garage and, well, I'll let you be the singer, Ozzy, since you own a PA. And they're trying to figure out what they're going to do.
Is that true story? You just made that up?
No, that's actually a true story.
Oh, I did not know that.
And they're trying to figure out what to do, like most bands do. And they say, oh, what do you listen to? Well, they all listen to Cream because how are you going to
live in England?
Live in England when you Clapton is God is spray painted everywhere.
Right.
So it makes sense. Like, I think this is the one dated sounding song. It completely sounds of the era, I should say. But I don't mean that in a bad way. Okay. I like it.
You're just saying this is the one song that you could place in 1970s.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And that's fair because, look, man, after that big bombast Cream intro, you get that sick guitar riff. And I can't get it out of my head.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I keep repeating it over and over like a mantra, okay? I can't get that guitar riff out of my head. Let's talk about Tony Iommi as a guitarist here, because what I find with this guy is he's almost never 1, 2, or 3 on people's lists. But the more I listen to him, I'm like, why isn't he?
Tony, as you say, point that out, I'm listening, and he sounds, well, not even sounds, he sounds phenomenal. He sounds great. I would label him as a utility player. And hear me out, as a guitarist, if you're a local guitarist in town, utility player is that guy. He's going to get called to do the gig. Everyone likes him because he can play, but he's not going to be the first one called. Probably the second, probably the third. Everyone knows he's the man.
You think it has to do that this dude had like some missing fingers or fingertips? Tell the story. Yeah. For those who don't know, tell the story of Tony's missing fingertips.
All right. So, again, Birmingham, factory town. He's working at a factory. The band's doing well. His last day of work. And he decided, I'm not going to work. It's the last day. And his parents, no, Tony, that's not how you raise. You're better than that. All right, goes into work. Last day of work. Machine accident. Boom! Loses the fingertips of his 2 middle fingers on his guitar playing hand, his fret hand. Being he's left-handed, it's the 2 middle fingers on his right hand.
Okay.
So, now, as a guitarist, you build up calluses on your fingertips, so he no longer has fingertips. So, it's a raw rub. And probably since he doesn't have fingertips at all, I don't think he can build calluses on his tips.
I wonder if that's the case. So he had raw rubs on his nubs?
Yeah. So yeah, it throws everything off because now your fingers are shorter than what you're accustomed to. You have to pretty much relearn like Django Reinhardt did.
Okay. And so did Django Reinhardt lose his fingers too?
Yeah, he lost his pinky and ring finger. Well, they burnt up a little stub. His house caught on fire, ran in, saved his wife and kid. He saved them.
Oh, wow. Okay. Man, you learn something new every day on this show. But to me, and I'm just calling my shot right here, one of the greatest underrated riffs in Sabbath history. When a song like that is stuck in my head, I got to give it props, man. I cannot get this riff out of my head. And I cannot believe that it wasn't more heralded, as I was growing up. I'm just shocked. To me, like the true, genuine surprise, because like I said, we sold our soul for rock and roll. This wasn't playing on the album. It wasn't on the greatest hits.
Yeah. Now, before we move on, I will geek out a little bit one more time. One of the things I like about this song, the intro, as you say, very Cream sounding.
Yep.
So the intro is in 3, and then when he gets to the riff, it's in 4. So in 3, think like a waltz. 1, 2, yeah. So it has a waltz feel to it, and then he comes in with the riff. No, we're going. It's forward, moving, straight forward.
he lays a groove down. Most grooves, they're in 4. So I like that. I like this is where we begin to see Black Sabbath musically stretch out with time signatures and begin to touch on that and put that in our face to where we digest it and don't even think about it.
And lyrically, I love this song where Ozzy's singing about turning the body into a corpse. And he's singing it with such gusto. Yeah. So we went from Satan attacking Ozzy to wizards, the wizard strolling down the road.
Gandalf.
To turning the body into a corpse. Like, this is not your love song album. This is not an album that you're going to tell your girlfriend, hey, listen to this. Yeah, this is what I think about you, baby.
Yeah, this is definitely the date album.
Okay. And so we're talking about lyrical content. And then now we're going to talk about a song about Lucifer. Okay. Oh, yeah. Satan, wizards, corpses, and now Lucifer. Okay, without a doubt, the next song on the album, one of the most iconic bass lines of all time starting this thing off. N.I.B.
Oh, sweet Georgia Brown. I want to know what Larry Graham from Sly and the Family Stone, who, the creator of the slap bass.
Yep.
I want to know what he thought when he first heard this. I want to know what he thought when he said, what's his name? Geezer Butler? Noted. I don't see how anyone could have played bass during this period of time and not been floored.
And this is widely known with heavy metal fans, but Geezer was pulling double duty. He was the bassist, primary songwriter, and the lyricist for the band. So all these evil lyrics, that's Geezer writing. That's not Ozzy writing those lyrics, man. That's Geezer. Okay? And I'm thinking, once again, going back to 1970, what else sounds like this? This is Lucifer's love song, man. Yeah. This is as close to a love song you get on this album, and it's like Lucifer saying to a woman, I want you, come with me. Oh yeah, come on, like just
and so that
sell your soul.
That teddy bear I mentioned earlier underneath, yep. Bingo, right here.
So explain what you mean.
And when I hear this album, just as a whole, I hear, again, like Black Sabbath, they're at the crossroads. We like evil, but we also have this love song, if you will. This boy-girl.
Twisted, demented love song. Yeah. Saying boy and girl, man, that's Lucifer. Say it, Ken, that's Lucifer.
Lucifer. But and maybe it's just because my experience with this song. So there's a YouTube clip of Zakk Wylde playing this song on a little pink acoustic Hello Kitty guitar, a solo acoustic unplugged thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I sat and watched it with my daughter because she likes Hello Kitty. And
okay.
We bond. Like our daddy-daughter song, Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. That's our daddy-daughter song.
Goodness.
So we sat and listened. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I can see this because, again, I get accused, or some people might look at me and think I'm scary, right? But
I don't think you're scary, Ken.
Thank you. But my little girl, she's not scared of me one bit. She would freak out if someone could convince her that I look scary. She would like, no, wrong guy.
And just because it's Black Sabbath, it can't be just a genuine love song. It's twisted. It's Lucifer using his evil powers to kind of put them in a trance, to hypnotize them to love him, because you can't really love Lucifer, Ken. Right? Now I have you with me under my power. Okay, that's all he's doing. Yeah, you can come with me, but you have to leave that life you lived.
Okay? And with that groove they lay down,
she's a prisoner. Lucifer's girlfriend is a prisoner.
Yeah. She's not going anywhere. Everything about it says seduction.
But musically, what you talked about earlier, that Sabbath groove, it's in full effect here, man.
It's infectious. You can't fight it. It's got her.
And for me, N.I.B. is that one Sabbath song that doesn't really get played on the radio. Whereas if I'm going to say to somebody who had never heard Sabbath, I'm gonna say listen to NIB. That's the song I listen to because you got Ozzy, and to me Ozzy, oddly enough, is a great love song singer.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Great ballad singer.
Yes.
And that's in a ballad. I mean, this is heavy metal, full on board, but it has that teddy bear spot, so to speak, that you talked about. But it also has that Sabbath groove to it, where they're going to be playing with the JBs, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It has that heavy metal sound, so unmistakably first heavy metal album. It has all those elements I love and want to hear from a Sabbath song.
And you know what? Geeking out one more time, what I dig about it being that this is the definition of metal. When it slows down in the middle, that little break,
Right?
and it comes to a stop, you got a tambourine right there in the middle going.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
Where else you gonna hear a tambourine?
On a monkey song with Davy Jones slapping it on his head?
Yeah, talking about a Pleasant Valley Sunday. You do not even fathom a tambourine with Black Sabbath.
That's absolutely true. This is like Black Sabbath's Pleasant Valley Sunday, right? Except with Lucifer and his prisoner girlfriend. By far, undeniable classic.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go to side 2, Ken. Now, side 2, it depends where you live. Because if you lived in America, side 2 starts with Wicked World. If you lived in England, side 2 starts with Evil Woman. Now, I'd been listening to Evil Woman. I'd been listening to the English version of Black Sabbath. I must have bought an import CD or something that had Evil Woman in the place of Wicked World. Even though I'd heard Wicked World on We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
So, we're going to talk about both of them.
Hey,
Okay, because honestly, it just depends where you live to which one you heard.
Yep.
So let's start with Evil Woman because that's on the UK version. And before the show, we listened to both versions. And the reason they put this song on the album is that I think probably a record company executive or somebody said, you need something commercial on this album full of Satan and Lucifer. Now, what I like about putting Evil Woman on the album is they did a cover. It's a cover of a band called Crow, okay? But they put on Evil Woman. Not Roy Orbison's Oh Pretty Woman. Not Gary Puckett and the Union Gap's Woman, but Evil Woman. It has to stay evil, Ken.
Yep. Keeping it evil, baby.
And I like this song, and it's all about that bass groove, like underneath, just carrying the song. You're just moving your head.
Yeah.
Da-da, doo-doo, da-da, da-doo-doo. And the problem is that the original has that groove too, which is great, except the original is a really painful song for me to listen to. What did you think when you heard the original?
To not say the exact same thing you said, I listened, I'm like, okay, I could see why record executive or, tell them they need something.
It's a catchy melody.
And I can see them grabbing this, keeping with the theme. Crow, they were probably big. They probably had or some type of movement in the UK.
Something, right?
Yeah, enough for them to grab.
Enough for them to, release a greatest hits album at some point in time.
Yeah.
Man,
So
and what I do like about the original is that they have that horn section.
Yeah, well, horns are tight. You really can't go wrong with horns.
But when you compare vocalists, it's no comparison. Ozzy Osbourne kills that other singer. I don't know who his name is. I don't know who he is.
You're right. I
Don't
have
care.
to agree with you.
Ozzy is just a better singer. He's a more identifiable singer. And Black Sabbath is just a better band overall. And so that's why, to me, I'm going to go with Sabbath's version. Because, like I said, man, when I listen to this album, I think Evil Woman. I don't think Wicked World. Okay, so that's why I wanted to make sure that we mentioned this song. Is there anything else you want to say about this song?
Listening to it, I would not be surprised if this was a song that they had in their early set list. That was just so tight.
I don't think so. I honestly think that they were told they needed a catchy commercial song, and it was given to them, and they kind of just banged it out. The same way Quiet Riot banged out
Come On, Feel the Noise.
Come On, Feel the Noise.
Yeah.
I think it was one of those situations
And
that they don't even like the song.
And it could be, and it could just be the fact that I'm still so impressed with how tight they are as a band.
And I'll agree with that. Now, as a guitar player, look, this might be Tony Iommi's most, I don't want to say tepid, let's say least inspired guitar solo on the album. Probably because he couldn't stand the song. He didn't want to play the song.
That'll do it. That will do it.
But it's still better than 90% of any guitar solo you'll ever hear. And that's all I have to say about Evil Woman.
Same here.
Okay, so let's move on to Wicked World. This was on the US version, and this is on the version you're going to get today. If you buy the CD or you download it or listen to it on Spotify, it has Wicked World on it. Now, this dude, Bill Ward, the drummer, we don't talk about Bill Ward enough. I know you gave him props, you want him to play with the JBs, but he goes off early in this, and he does not let up on these drums.
Yeah. I'm speechless when I listen to Bill Ward, and when I stop and think about, oh my goodness, listen to these guys. I get tired. You know, it's like watching a fight scene in a movie. I get worn out.
And here's the interesting thing, man. We talked about Tony Iommi. He's always given his props. You called him a utility player, man. I questioned that because we're going to talk about the last song on this album. That's not a utility player playing that song. Geezer Butler always gets mentioned as one of the best bass players of all time.
And always will.
Bill Ward. You don't always hear Bill Ward mentioned the same way you do like a Neil Peart or name someone else. Like
or Bonham.
Bonham.
Yeah. And it makes sense because this is the first album. And again, 80s grew up, Sabbath, what they evolved into was awesome. But because it wasn't this groove-based thing, so predominant in the blues and in R&B, that it's not in your face as much. You have to go back and listen to this, or pay attention to the Wizard when you're spinning Soul to Rock and Roll to actually hear and experience the fact that, oh my goodness, this man is beating these drums like that owe him money.
Right? No, but that's kind of what I'm talking about. And maybe it's just my own misconception. But it's almost like when people talk about Black Sabbath, it's three legends, and Bill Ward.
Yeah,
and that's a huge mistake.
Yeah, because if you ask anyone who actually stopped and listened to a song, you're like, oh, no, Bill's nothing to play with.
I think he's the MVP on several songs, man. And not just this album, like several albums. So to me, he really stood out on this song. Now, if you're a record executive and you have to listen to Evil Woman or Wicked World, which one are you putting on the album?
I'm going to put Evil Woman myself.
Okay. For 45 years of my life, I would have agreed with you. But, man, Bill Ward going off, the Tony Iommi riff is sick to start off the song. Just sick. Yeah. I'm telling you, man, I think that this song just shows, it illustrates how much of a well-oiled machine they are right out the gate.
Yeah.
Right out the gate. They are right there on it. Think about this, Ken. In Wicked World, there's like a little part where he's like trying to play like a Spanish guitar sound. And it's almost like he gives up and says, what am I doing? I just created heavy metal. Why am I trying to play this? And he's shown his chops throughout his career. So we know he can do it. It's just for this particular song, he has to be thinking, I'm Tony freaking Iommi. I don't need to play this little bit. I need to, knock people into their graves.
Show the world who I am.
Yes. And so for me, I'm telling you, man, for most of my life, I always said, no, Evil Woman, we want that. Now, me personally, why not put both of them on there?
Yeah.
You could have had both songs.
It's only a
okay.
39-minute album. So
right.
Yeah.
So, but I would, now, older and wiser, I would put Wicked World. So
I got to agree.
Okay.
Or I would still go with, I'm sorry, I was caught up in what you're saying about Wicked World and thinking about his Spanish guitar, and the contrast. So, yeah, you touch on that. And so when he goes back to heavy, it sounds even heavier. So I was geeking out on that in my head.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Well, let's go to this next track. And this is Sleeping Village. Now, Ken, help me out here because I'm ignorant. What the hell is that twang in the background before they just kick that heavy metal in?
Oh yeah, that is called a Jew's harp. Not a derogatory term. That's actual name.
So how do you play that? Like, what's going on?
So it's a lyre, Lyre, and it has a little thin metal bar in the middle of it. You bite down on the two sides of the lyre, the small part, and you flick the little metal bar, and you sort of breathe heavy to make different pitches.
Really?
Yeah. So if you watch the old Charlie Brown movies and whatnot, that's what Snoopy's playing when he and Woodstock are dancing around. He's got.
I did not know that.
Yep.
That's interesting. Okay. Now this song, it starts slow and somber, and Ozzy's singing, and there aren't many lyrics. There's only one verse in this whole song.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then the metal comes on. And then my man Bill Ward gets another showcase. And to be fair, all of the musicians get a chance to shine on this song. But there's just not much here. It's almost like this song is the warm-up before you get to the final song. It really is, because they're combined as a medley. Sleepin' Village is combined with The Warning.
Yes.
And this song, The Warning's already 10 minutes long. And then you combine it in a medley with Sleepin' Village, and you got 14 minutes of the side two.
When I hear Sleeping Village, do you want to know what I hear?
What?
I hear the future influence on the metal ballads to come.
Okay, I can see it. Yes.
You feel me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Now, not the pop power metal
No,
ballads.
like the ones that we listened to in the 80s in San Antonio. Not the pop, the one where the girls didn't talk to us.
Not Poison's Every Rose Has a Thorn.
Yeah, not the ones where girls actually went to their shows.
I got you. Yeah. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I really do. This is like if you listen to Metallica's Fade to Black.
Yes.
Right? Something like that.
Precursor to that. And the other bands just not so popular.
Right. No, I get it. Sleepin' Village, like I said, Bill Ward is showcased. There aren't many lyrics. There is that precursor to that metal ballad sound. But let's talk about the final track on the album, The Warning. Now, this song is another cover. I did not listen to the original, which was the Ainsley Dunbar Retaliation Band. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, Ainsley Dunbar is a legend himself. He is a legendary drummer. He is a famous heavy metal drummer who has played with John Mayall and the Heartbreakers, with Frank Zappa, David Bowie, Journey, Whitesnake. Okay, remember Whitesnake when their album was released, 1987?
Oh, yeah.
In the Still of the Night.
So he's
Here I Go Again.
Yeah, okay. Tommy Aldridge took over for him.
That's right.
So
that's
6 Degrees of Separation. Tommy, who played on Ozzy's first.
That was Tommy Aldridge in the videos, right?
Yeah.
Not Ainsley Dunbar.
Correct.
Okay. But Ainsley Dunbar was on the Journey Infinity album. Guaranteed.
Before Steve Smith. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Steve Smith, I think, took over by Escape, which was the Don't Stop Believin' album.
That's still, yeah.
Tommy Aldridge was the Whitesnake drummer.
He's still in some high company there, because the people who took over after him, those other drummers, they're no joke.
Right.
You know what I mean? So just that right there speaks something.
Now, we've talked about Ozzy on this album and how recognizable his voice is and how sort of amazing he is. His vocals in this song are kind of my least favorite part, but I love the melody. It's another catchy song.
Yeah, this one's gonna grab you.
You know, it's another song where 2 minutes after listening to it, you're singing that blues verse of Ozzy.
Yeah, I'd say blues.
Singing the blues, man. I mean, and you keep singing the song over and over again, the chorus. Now, I think that with this album being released in 1970, it's the perfect way to end the album to let the whole world know the 1960s are dead.
Yeah, so the 60s are dead. You hear a band that has come up They've played shows, and though the '60s were dead, going into the '70s, this song gives me the jam band feel.
It's absolutely a jam band feel.
I'm like, well, I feel Allman Brothers groove going here. Yeah, and it's also 10 minutes long, so
It is.
Yeah, I'm thinking Fillmore, Allman Brothers, absolutely. You're playing for people. You got to remember. So, back, you kids, if there are any kids listening to this, before you had the mixed CD or your computer phone that you plug and it would play music for 50 hours at a time, you had musicians playing. And so they would play long songs to keep people moving and keeping it going. That's hence the jam band.
Well, there were also a lot of drugs being...
Yeah, whatever
consumed.
was going on, they had to play to keep it going. Whether it was drugs,
Right.
dancing, strippers, whatever, they had to keep it going.
Now, this song, you can actually break this song. We talked earlier about classical influence, and this might be the Ainsley Dunbar influence. I don't know. I've never heard that version. I'm guessing that Ainsley Dunbar's
Is
version
it a 10-minute version?
does not sound like this.
Yeah.
Okay, but that first guitar solo. This is why I challenge you when you say, "Oh, Tony Iommi's a utility player," bro. First guitar solo, he's establishing them blues chops, right? Just like, hey, any blues player can do this. Then he could have easily ended the song after 3 minutes and 30 seconds after that second verse.
Yep.
Okay, he got his guitar solo off. Ozzy sang what he had to sing. They could have gotten off the stage. He said, "No, man. Now I'm going to do another guitar solo. And this heavy metal music you're going to be listening to for the next 50 years, this is what it's going to sound like." And pulls off the heavy metal guitar solo. Then, oh my God. Then he says, "Wait a minute. I'm going to make sure you know I come from the blues, but I'm going to play this new thing I just created called heavy metal." Do you see where I'm coming from then? And then they just have this breakdown, this blues metal breakdown where you're like, oh my God, I feel the pain that he's feeling when he's playing those notes, which the best blues songs make you feel.
They do that. They will convey that.
Okay. And then he does another guitar solo because, hey, it's a 10-minute song. He can do a lot of solos, a lot of movements.
Yep.
And it's this weird blues transition where it's kind of the country blues.
Yep.
And I think you could see Tony Iommi trading guitar licks with a country guitar powerhouse, Roy Clark. What do you think?
Oh, Roy Clark's no joke.
He's no joke. But I think Tony Iommi on this song, just displaying all of his chops, he's saying, hey, man, let's play. I think he could go back and forth with. I'm not saying he's better than Roy Clark.
Oh yeah, few are three people walking the planet.
Maybe
three. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just saying he could get up on stage with him and go.
Oh yeah, no, he was. This song made me reevaluate and go back and say, okay, I grew up listening to Sabbath, 80s, and you know the story, the myth. Well, no, I shouldn't say the myth, but you know the story about his fingertips, the myth of him lowering and doing different tunings.
Okay,
on
what
his
does that
guitar.
mean? Explain.
So a guitar, any guitar, they have standard tuning. So you can pick up a guitar anywhere, and they're all tuned the same. So that means the fat string is tuned to the same note. Each string's tuned to the same note on the guitar around the world. Standard. So story about his losing his fingertips, loosening the strings, doing different tunings, fitting into the heavy metal sound, the dark sound that they continue to evolve beyond this album. And you grow up hearing this in the stories, and you're like, okay, so he probably did that to adapt for loss of his fingertips. Listening to this album, he may not have had fingertips, but this man did not lose anything in his guitar playing.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm listening to this album, and I'm like, one of the first things when I listen to this whole album as a whole, I'm like, wait a minute, this guitar, everything's playing in standard tuning. Listen to this long solo he's doing, which is straight up out the wheelhouse of how he grew up in the 60s and the blues rock and everything of that vein. I'm like, oh no, he has it down. This, look at handicap, nothing. No. This man, it's like saying, hey, I just got beat down by a one-legged man in a butt kicking contest. Well, this is that one-legged man, and he's whooping everybody's butt.
Yeah. Now, what I do like about this song, because this is by far, right, like a Tony Iommi showcase.
Yes.
Okay, is that they come back for that last verse. It was like if they were playing this song live, Ozzy's on the side of the stage while the band's going off.
Lord knows what.
Well, you know what he's doing. He's doing some lines on the side.
Sweet Leaf.
Yeah, something, right? He's doing some Sweet Leaf.
Throw another plug.
And then it's like, oh, it's my cue. And so he runs back on stage, finishes the song, and then says goodnight. And they go, I don't know if they finished the set with this song. But you know this was to give Ozzy a break.
Yep.
Right? And to me, we talk about albums and how they start. We did it with Black Sabbath. We did it with We Will Rock You last week and We Are the Champions. And we talk about how they end. Okay?
Yeah.
And last week on News of the World, I didn't think they should have ended with My Melancholy Blues, but I understood it. I always thought that something else should have ended this album, like maybe NIB. But when you listen to it as a whole, and when you listen to this as like that big Iommi showcase, I get it now. After all these years of hearing this album, because this song is an investment. This is a time investment.
Yeah.
If you combine it with Sleeping Village, you got to give up 15 minutes of your time, man. And you got to remember, most pop songs on the radio were 2.5, 3 minutes tops.
Yep.
Okay, with a few exceptions, but still. So you're giving up 15 minutes of your time to listen to this song, all right? And so they made it count. They said, we're going to throw every trick under the book. My man Geezer's going to go off. Bill Ward and his drumming's going to go off. Tony's going to showcase what he can do. Oh, and hey, Ozzy, come on. Come off from the side of the stage and finish the song up.
Yeah.
And take us home.
Yes, this machine was definitely amped up and going all just balls out.
Now, Ken, we're coming to the end of the show. And here's the reality, man. This album is life-changing. It literally created a genre of music that still exists to this day.
Yep.
So it absolutely stands the test of time because there's so much that came after it that would have never come after it without them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a new creation. Okay. But how do you think it holds up as an album as a whole? Like, do you feel like, okay, this is a historical artifact, or is this something that, no, if you're a musician or you're a fan of music, you need to listen to this album?
I do feel, and that's actually interesting you asked me that. Before spinning it, I would have said, okay.
Historical artifact.
Yeah. But now, after listening to it multiple times, yeah. No, this album is not going away from my playlist. I'm going to continue spinning this. And like I said, only one song on here truly sounds dated of the era.
And I love it.
That's and it's a great song. Yeah, and it's not a bad song. It, like I said, it just sounds, you can tell, oh, yep, this is from this point in time. Not a bad thing, because it's still a great song.
Right. And we did this last week. We're going to do this, and we're going to do this for the foreseeable future. Favorite song on the album?
Oh, by The Wizard, man.
Yeah, and I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say The Wizard. For me, this album will always be synonymous with NIB. Oh, yeah.
And okay. I ain't mad at you, man.
Forever. That might be my favorite Sabbath song of all time. And Wizard's not far behind, to be honest with you, but Sabbath has so many great songs. Least favorite song on the album?
You know, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. My least favorite, track 1.
The title track.
The title track.
Why do you say that?
Because, well, off this album, if I'm picking a least favorite on the album, I'm not saying it's my least favorite Sabbath song. I think everything else on the album is just much better. It's a defining song. You can't, like I said, you can't have Sabbath without doing this.
It's funny you say that because it is not one of my favorite Sabbath songs. To me, it's just so iconic that I feel guilty picking that song. And so the one I'm going to pick is Sleeping Village. I think it has a nice showcase, but I think if you would have just gone directly to the warning,
Yeah.
I think people would have been okay with that. You know, I don't think that Sleeping Village brings enough to the table where we had to have that extra 3.5 minutes on the album. Whereas Black Sabbath, you cannot have this album without that opening track.
I feel you.
Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Good. So, everybody who's out there listening, please let us know what your favorite track is and what your least favorite track is on the album. We'd love to hear from you. If you disagree with us or agree with us on some of the things we said, give us some feedback. We'd welcome your comments.
Yes, we'd love to learn. Also, if anyone out there saw Sabbath during this time in the 70s, off this album, on this tour, please let us know.
If they did, man, they'd be collecting Social Security.
Hey, you know what? YouTube works.
Yeah, I wonder if some of those people that age can work YouTube. I'm curious. But having said that, we really do want to hear from you. We do hope you enjoyed the show. Ken and I are having a lot of fun doing this. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button. Please subscribe to the show. And until we talk to you again, bye-bye.
Bye.